Hello, this is Wmpyr back again with another explanation video. The last video that I uploaded, it's called Knife Defense. Okay, so when someone says to me, how do you use your style? How do you actually use it in a real life situation? And basically it comes down to just 3 steps, right? And these 3 steps are based off of Captain Fairbairn's method, gutter fighting, my notes on gutter fighting. And the first step is defend. So that is exactly what you're seeing in that video, which is 1 minute and 10 seconds long, is the defend part, where you're just defending, trying to stay alive, trying to keep that distance so that they don't, get close to you or grab you or anything like that. You're just trying to stay away and have opportunities to escape. So that is step 1. The whole video is that, but that is not sparring. Okay, I'll be the first to say it, and if I said it was sparring, that would be a lie. It is a partner drill, okay? And in Filipino martial arts, we do a lot of partner drills. So this is a partner drill that I came up with, but that really doesn't mean anything. Anyone could have come up with it. Maybe there's plenty of people that already do it, okay? This one is based off of the force-to-force block partner drill. Now that one, like I said, I made it up. I've never seen other people do it, like other Filipino martial arts schools or anything, but it really doesn't take a brain to come up with it, okay? But that is something that I came up with. So this is based off of the force-to-force block, okay? And which I made into, like I said, a partner drill. And what you're seeing in this video is it's more free, so it's not exactly like the force-to-force block partner drill. It's a little bit more chaotic elements put in. I'm putting fakes in, changing the speed, stuff like that. So it's a little bit more evolved in that sense to make it a little bit more realistic, because we've been doing the force-to-force block for a long time, my student and I. And that's exactly what you want to do with these partner drills, is you want to change it here and there, add elements to make it more realistic. Just because if you're doing the same exact drill over and over and over again, which is good, but we're humans, we're going to get bored, so you want to change it up and keep it fresh, but not change it up too much where it just turns into a chaotic mess of just full contact sparring, and it's like you're just fighting. We don't want that, because you're going to get injured. Like you saw in the video before that one, even as safe as we try to do, injury still happens. So if you're going full-blown, full contact, injury is much more possibly worse and whatnot. Just the risk is not worth it. Okay, so the force-to-force block is, I got to go into that. That is, where does it come from? It comes from Arnis. That's where I learned it in 1990. It was one out of many techniques that I learned, and it was not emphasized, or it was not taught as special, like this is the move. No. It was just like one out of many moves. And why I kept it in my arsenal and why it stood out to me actually wasn't the force-to-force block. You do the force-to-force block, and then from there we went into a disarm. So I remembered those steps, that the force-to-force block, then you go into this particular disarm, which is like you snake your arm in, and you take the opponent's stick away from them. So you're both single stick, and that's how you do it. And definitely the disarm was more emphasized, and I thought the disarm was really cool, and that's why I remembered it. So that was the only reason why I remember the force-to-force block. And I kept practicing it all the years later after I left the school and went to college and stuff. it stayed with me just because more so of the disarm. But then came the shift where I was like, okay, forget the disarm. Let's take a look at the force-to-force block. When it really, really stood out to me was when I finally opened the school and now I had students, right? When I made that transition, before, like, I was interested in developing my own skill. I was just interested in developing me. So someone would hold the pads for me and I was doing the Muay Thai kicks, right? But now for the first time, I'm holding the pads, the forearm shields, and my students are kicking. Okay, so this was just one of the exercises we did. So I'm holding the pads, the forearm shields, and my students are giving me a roundhouse kick and I'm blocking it and they're getting repetitions, right? And then they do like 10 each leg, you know, and then next person, 10, 10, something like that, right? As I was doing that, I was like, this feels very familiar. And it dawned on me, this is the force-to-force block. So this was huge because not only did it make that connection from stick fighting, single stick, to empty hand, which I knew that the Filipino martial arts of Kia was supposed to do anyway, but here was the proof of that. But on top of that, there was one more layer that was so, so important, and that was, this is how they train in Muay Thai kickboxing, which is a full contact sport. And there's many wonderful techniques in Kali, Escrima, Arnis, but if I'm not shown the context of how to use it, then it's just a technique that I have to Sherlock Holmes it. Like, I don't know how to use it. Like, you could show me the disarm, that's wonderful. You could show me all these drills, that's great. How do I use it? There's a gap there, okay? But when we're talking about Muay Thai kickboxing, how do you use it? Well, watch one of their matches. Okay, it's very, very obvious how they use it. And that's why the sport aspect, the full contact fighting, combat sport, was very important to me because it shows that kind of context. How do you use it against someone that's coming to beat you up? How do you use it against someone that's trying to resist and destroy you? And this, to me, was great because if it's being used in that, then I know the force-to-force block now can be used in full contact. And that was huge for me. So getting the techniques from the traditional martial arts, Kia, Kali, Escrima, Arnis, so that's my source. That's the library, okay? And that's the stuff that I'm practicing. And I really like the art. So I'm grabbing stuff from there, the ones that stand out to me, because I can't do everything. Plus, my training wasn't fully complete anyway. So I was desperate trying to catch up on that, meeting people at the college, you know, do you know any Filipino martial arts? Do you know any I know this much, what am I missing? You know, that kind of stuff, you know, and trying to put that together. But even then, I knew that I'm going to specialize in a certain area. I can't do everything. It's just too much. So I'm not here to become, I wasn't thinking of becoming a teacher. I wanted to be a user. I wanted to use this stuff. So I don't care if the teacher could do it, good for him. I'm interested in me being able to use it and being able to do it in full contact. If I can't do it in full contact, how am I supposed to do it in the street where it's even more chaotic, you know, where it's even more out of control? So that was my way of thinking. But here it is, the force-to-force block, pretty much the same kind of motion being applied in Muay Thai kickboxing. So I was like really excited about that. And what's great about the force-to-force block is that this becomes your foundation. There's plenty of techniques that we learn in Kia, Kali, Escrima, Arnis that are way better. Plenty of stuff. But when you do this partner drill, the force to force block partner drill, and like I said in the last video, the knife defense video, it's highly already evolved what we're doing, because I'm not holding a stick. My partner, my student is not holding a stick. He's holding a bag. I'm using a training knife, so it's already changed. But so I recommend start with the sticks first and work from the angles of attack patterns. So the form that you learn with the angles of attack, just work on that. And it's the same pattern because, you know, the angles of attack is a form. It's a kata. So you do that over and over and over and get your repetitions before doing what we did. And you're going to notice, like people will say to me, like, well, you're not using kicks, or you're not using your free hand. And you can later on, but for this, honestly, it's not full contact sparring, okay? So you can start to add those kinds of elements, but you want to work slow, all right? And believe me, just a simple force-to-force block, even with stick versus stick, just doing that is so valuable. You don't have to add the kicks or the punches or whatever. Definitely do so later, but in the beginning, and even later on, you want to come back to the more basic stuff. So when you put in time, maybe a year or 2 years into it, don't think that, oh, I'm advanced now, I only use knives now. Don't have that mentality. Always go back to the basics. And I'm like the last session here, I'm still working on stuff that's super basic, and just using the bag. It's so difficult. These skills need to be sharpened over and over. And firsthand, by doing this partner drill, you learn how deadly the knife is. Not just, you know, I've seen videos where people go, use whatever martial arts technique you go, and then the other person just assaults them and then, you know, repeatedly stabs them, and they go, you see, the knife is deadly. That doesn't help, okay? It can help in just yes, like if they're really way off, which a lot of people are on their perspective of knife defense. But after that, okay, you get the point. You don't just keep doing that. Doesn't really help, okay? If anything, it's super discouraging, okay? But doing this kind of drill, I see like, okay, the bag is small and my fingers, my hands are vulnerable. And even when I block, the hand could still get through, and, you know, I could still get cut. So I need to make sure that I block and create that distance and back out. So those are the very valuable skills that you're developing. You're developing stuff, not just, yeah, the knife is so difficult and damn, it's hard. Not just that I don't care about easy or hard. That's not what this is about. This is about developing skills that I can use and that I can work off of, you know? So that's what we're doing here. And this drill teaches so many valuable lessons. So that's why, yes, there's some really awesome partner drills in Filipino martial arts. Very, very cool stuff. But I like working here with the force-to-force. It's way more basic, and it sets the foundation. So if you don't have a good foundation, I don't care if you could do some amazing partner drill and you guys look super smooth and your skill is mega high. Without the good solid foundation, it's more like you're just putting on a great show, and you can't use that at all. So to me, the force-to-force block is a great place to start with, and it will ground you from the page one, you know, and work from there. And it is a reality check for sure. Like I said, just doing this partner drill with my student the other day, I felt extremely vulnerable, and there were many times where I was in danger or cut. And when I started to try to do some counters and some more fancier stuff, some better stuff, it just made me more vulnerable. So that's super, super important to understand. You got to keep it simple, got to stick to the basics kind of thing. That is very realistic training. And in this video, knife self-defense, I've seen people, at least one group, which I won't name, use this kind of thing. And I don't know where they got it from. Kind of suspect. I'm thinking they got it from me, and that's fine if they stole it and they don't want to give me credit for it. That's fine. But the way that they're doing it is not like this. And I could tell you, if you are going to use it, it needs to be like this, the way that we were doing, with the distance and everything. So now, another thing I could tell you is I remember with my students, you know, and a different group batch of people come in and stuff, and you know, I like to do this thing where I tell them, I go, so I remember once in Houston, when I was living over in the middle of Houston, I had students come in, and they were a rowdy bunch. Some of them were pretty sketchy. and I said to them, I said, hey, just with this training knife, attack me whenever you want. When you think I'm vulnerable, just go for it. And they did. And it was an experiment that I did. And when they did, what came out? Well, it was pretty much the force-to-force block. Now, I didn't have a stick, but I did that, which is the SWAT. The SWAT is just a modification. It's an empty hand version of the force-to-force block. That's what came out. And so that I knew right there, because that's not even, I didn't think about it. It wasn't premeditated. I wasn't like, okay, when he comes, I'm going to do this technique. No, I was caught by surprise. And so that I could literally tell you that is what came out for me. So then at that point, I knew. When I try to do the other stuff, it just wasn't, I was getting killed. So the force-to-force block is so valuable. And that was there at the Houston studio. I've also done it in other cities nearby with a different batch of students, and same thing. You know, what came out was the force-to-force block. Okay, now you might say, well, that just might be you. Maybe sure, but I'm glad that it came out, and I didn't expect it to be that, but that's what came out, you know. And so I could attest to it, and if not, I would have been cut or dead. And like I said, when I tried other stuff, I was getting cut up. So that is what came out, the force-to-force block. I stand by it, okay? And so that's step one of my self-defense program, okay, is just being able to do that. And you want to be able to do that with baseball cap, you know, a cup, a jacket, you know, a backpack, whatever you can grab, a branch, you know, anything you can grab, and you want to use that technique. Not to counter, not to hurt the opponent. If you can do those things, great, but it's just, I'm telling you, just survival and protecting yourself against knife attacks, that's really enough. It's so much that you're not going to be able to, when you try other stuff. Once again, if you can, great, but try it in practice first, and you'll see how difficult it is. It really, really is. Well, because once you start trying to attack back and stuff, your success rate for the force-to-force block really starts to decrease rapidly. And someone I remember commented on my YouTube channel saying the distance, so long range, medium range, close range, ground range, those distances change rapidly. Absolutely. And that's what makes it so difficult. So anyway, that's it for now. Thank you for viewing, and take care, folks.